Hello and welcome to Arts 21. On this edition, we sound out Indian creatives working in Germany, France, and their native India. How do they view their vast country with its population of 1.3 billion and its 5,000-year history?
When we start to play music, we forget everything.
And what do these artists have to say about a nation racked by religious conflicts, gender-based violence, and environmental degradation?
Now there are air cans for sale in India. It's just one breath you're buying for. So, it's a new kind of consumerism.
But first, in Facing India showcases thought-provoking work by a new generation of Indian women artists.
A pavilion at the center of Kunstmuseum Salzburg, papered with images of India's sprawling capital Delhi. Face masks are an essential accessory. The city is blanketed with stifling smog. For her performance piece and photo documentary Breath by Breath, Vippa Galatra collected polluted air at different locations across the city with a butterfly catcher.
Now there are air cans for sale in India. So they are coming from Australia or Canada or from Britain, which are really expensive. So it's just one breath you're buying for. So, it's a new kind of consumerism, which I wanted to talk about.
That underscores the tenor of the show. Facing India is no exhibition of folklore from a multi-ethnic nation. It unflinchingly addresses modern realities on the subcontinent. And its viewpoint is exclusively female. Vippa Galatra's work focuses on environmental concerns. The Yamuna is a sacred river in India, severely contaminated by industrial effluents and raw sewage. Yet locals who live along its banks still use its water for bathing, cooking and drinking. In her film Mantan, Galatra uses poetic imagery to document this environmental disaster. Socially engaged and critical art is at the heart of this exhibition.
I was surprised by the level of social engagement. These artists have all collaborated with NGOs. They've established broad contacts, including to lower social classes. I've learned a lot from the way they work, and their approach is reflected in their output. They found a very apt visual expression for highly complex pictorial content.
Deaf Room is the title of this installation by Bharti Kher. The bricks are made from melted glass bangles commonly worn by Indian women. It's a lonely space, a tribute to the countless silent victims of sexual violence, which remains widespread across India today. The life-size sculpture Six Women is also a reflection on women's vulnerability, cast from the bodies of Calcutta sex workers. In many cultures, the kitchen is the only right place for a woman to be. Prajakta Potnis uses domestic appliances to challenge gender stereotyping. An installation in a freezer references global problems. Grenades, the terrorist threat, all-pervading surveillance, a global nowhere of interchangeable shopping malls and airports. The aesthetic is undeniably Western, but it harbours a criticism of India's rigid social stratification.
People from the lower caste can't just enter into a kitchen of a higher caste Brahmin. Also women, if they have menstruation happening, they're not supposed to enter kitchens. So the kitchen from the context of India becomes interesting as well in terms of the hierarchies that set apart through the space.
Visible and invisible boundaries, a central theme in Indian society and in this exhibition. On a high museum wall, Prajakta Potnis, the youngest artist in the show, has drawn fine cracks, an expression perhaps of a world order under threat of disintegration. Woven Chronicle by Reena Kalat is a map of migratory paths taken across the centuries. How does migration affect a sense of national identity? And how absurd are border conflicts, symbolized by barbed wire, in an age when digital communication has long since transcended all boundaries?
I think this kind of narrow nationalism that we are seeing surfacing globally today is really something that we need to look beyond. And as technology has really brought us together in many ways, and to see much more unity.
7 decades ago, colonial British India was partitioned into 2 independent states, India and Pakistan. The effects are still felt today. Rina Kalat's series, Hyphenated Lives, examines the theme of politically divided but historically related countries. Her hybrids juxtapose flora and fauna from neighbouring countries. It's a utopian vision. Mitu Sen's work is more radical. Her Museum of Unbelongings is an astute metaphor for an egalitarian world. Her gaping grimace of false teeth questions the dividing lines between castes, ethnicities and genders. Facing India, an uncompromising view of the subcontinent and the world we live in.
And of course, we've got much more up our sleeve. Look for us on Facebook under DW Culture. And now, more discoveries from India picked up on our radar. The German-Indian production Pavo is German director Marvin Litvak's feature film debut. The 2016 release is based on the true story of a young Tibetan. Pavo is Tibetan for hero. In stark, powerful images, the film tells the story of Dorji's life. In 2008, he's arrested during Tibetan protests against Chinese rule and endures 6 months of torture in a Chinese prison.
When the soul feels strong enough, it leaves the family and sets off into the world to find a new home.
The next station of his life is also his last, a Tibetan exile community in India. His fight for Tibet's freedom ends in tragedy. The award-winning film Pavo is a powerful story of homeland and loss. Very Hungry God, a gigantic skull made from typical Indian stainless steel cookware by Subodh Gupta. The glinting sculpture is the centerpiece of the artist's first solo exhibition in France.
I work with the Delhi Mandains, and when I was making this particular work, it's 19 years ago, 90% of the population of in India using the stainless steel utensils like breakfast, lunch and dinner.
Pots and pans and other everyday objects like a milkman's bicycle make frequent appearances in Gupta's exploration of India's past and present. Or stacks of tiffin boxes, another tradition used to examine the ambivalence of a society caught between tradition and globalization, exploding wealth and abject poverty, caste politics, and spirituality. Subodh Gupta is India's most celebrated contemporary artist. His retrospective is on at the Monet de Paris through August 26th. A musical encounter between India and Germany. The Beethoven Fest Bond brings young musicians together in Mumbai.
Mumbai is a vibrant and sprawling city on the coast, India's gateway to the world, and where the 2018 campus project begins. Fabian, Charlotte, Pascal, Jungju, and Tillmann study classical percussion in Germany. The Beethoven Fest has sent them to Mumbai for a week. Their task is to immerse themselves in Indian music and find a shared language with Indian musicians. In September, a German-Indian music event will be held in Bonn.
It's very inspiring. even though it's a foreign country and culture, and the music sounds strange to me. It's also so fun and inspiring to dive in.
It's so completely different. Being here has turned my entire musical world upside down. When you start working with Indian music, you feel like you're practically a beginner again.
The National Centre for the Performing Arts in Mumbai is a fitting location for the musical encounter. Indian and Western artists perform here. The Indian participants in the campus workshop have arrived. The international team is now complete. At 20, Ishan, Kalyan and Sujit are seasoned musicians, even though they have never attended a conservatory. For thousands of years, Indian music has traditionally been passed down from teacher to student. Bhargavi and Shivani are Kathak dancers. Their rhythmic dance is an essential part of Indian percussion. The musicians unpack their instruments and apply tuning paste. Indian classical music is a tradition all its own. Unlike Western classical music, it doesn't follow written notes. Instead, it is based on improvisation, but according to very strict rules. Can these two soundscapes be brought into harmony? Bernhard Schimpelsberger believes so. He fell in love with Indian music years ago. Ever since, he's been moving and mediating between two musical worlds. But the campus project is a challenge for him too.
Of course, the workshop is part of the project. But we want the result to be more than just the presentation of workshop results. We want it to be a work of art, music and art. We'll have a lot to explore in various phases. Right now, we're in the experimental phase.
We expect to learn some things which we lack in or we don't have in us, that we can inculcate from this part of the culture, I think.
We are just doing the music, that's it. For me, that's important, that whatever it's European or it's Indian classical, for me, it's doing the music is the main thing.
On day 3, the workshop gets down to business. Suresh Talwalkar is here. He is a living legend in India. The master tabla player has taught hundreds of percussionists of many different nationalities. In the West, some call him the Beethoven of the tabla. Bernhard Schimpelsberger was one of his students.
Sureshji is truly a pioneer of Indian music. He's completely traditional in the way he teaches. He believes in the Guru-Shishya tradition, the relationship between mentor and student that has been passed on in India for thousands of years. He represents that. He's one of the last, but he's also genuinely experimental. He believes in the power of rhythm and wants to expand Indian rhythms.
It's not easy to bring together 10 percussionists from different cultures. What does the master think of the experiment?
They want to really learn Indian rhythmic, Indian music. Really, they are very attached to Indian music. When we start to play music, we forget everything.
The concert, set for September 20th in Bonn, Germany, will also feature a premiere, an orchestral work commissioned by DW, composed by Bernhard Schimpelsberger and Bansuri flute player Rakesh Charazia.
It's a big thing for me, and I'm open to do any kind of experiment in music because music needs to be expanded day by day.
In 7-hour rehearsals, the participants are hard at work. By autumn, the team will have mastered a program featuring pieces by European and Indian composers. What's their verdict on the 7 days in Mumbai?
I think it's great. The pace of the lessons is overwhelming, but we made so much progress and learned so many new things in such a short time.
The Indian musicians are really incredible. We've been learning so much. It's really great.
We are very excited for the Beethoven Fest that is going to happen in September. And all of us, the 10 percussionists, 5 from Germany and 5 from India, are very keen on working together and sharing the stage with some great symphony musicians as well.
The last hours in Mumbai, the young musicians from Germany and India get to enjoy some free time. They'll be reunited in September at the Beethoven Fest in Bonn.
Berlinale Talents is the Berlin International Film Festival's networking platform. We ask young members about their dreams and challenges. A passion for film, coming up now on Arts 21.
You're an amazing poet. Give him 10 kilos of gold. All right? Happy? You have to come again. If you actually travel to India and you see the social structure of India, the Indian people in their life emotionally are actually much louder in expressing their emotion than the Western people. This is Pitobash here, and I'm an actor. I am originally from India, Mumbai. I live in Mumbai. I work in Bollywood. But from last 3-4 years now, I've started working in America as well. So I am in between Mumbai and LA. If you can't hear it, you are obviously dead. I always wanted to be an actor. I was always good in studies, and in India, the families and parents always like, okay, you have to be an engineer or a doctor. So I just did my engineering. But then I joined to a film school. And yeah, this was always I wanted, and I become an actor after that. So when you're talking about $1 Million Arm, it was my first international and Hollywood American film. So I was not in a position to choose that film. They were selecting me. All my life, I wanted to be a baseball player. It's a great sport. But I never dreamed it was possible. But when I read the film after getting selected and the role, I said like, oh, wow, this is an amazing role, and let's enjoy this whole process while doing the film. Are you with me? India on 3. 1, 2, 3. India! I don't get jet lag anymore. Because from Mumbai to LA, it's almost like 24 hours. It's amazing to explore the whole world and different culture from different corners. You never get bored in your life because life is not monotonous.
बंदर करके दिखाओ काय खुजला रे भाई सुजीत चाचा हाथी करो हाथी बहुत बढ़िया हाय नी
Everywhere you go and you exposed to a new situation, new makers, new cultural diversity, new kind of people, new working style, it makes you more deeper as an artist, and you learn a lot and you enjoy the process. So I will, of course, still keep working in Bollywood, but I'm exploring outside cinema as well. And yeah, I'm enjoying it.
India, a land of immense culture and beauty and a study in contrasts. That's all for now from Arts 21. Join us again next week. Until then, goodbye and auf Wiedersehen.